Have you ever wondered if what you call reality is just a mirror reflecting the emotions you've been silently swimming in? That perhaps the world isn't showing you truth, but instead projecting the frequency of your feelings back at you like an echo chamber of consciousness? Every single emotion you experience, fear, joy, shame, hope, is not just a feeling but a lens, a quantum filter, tinting the entire field of possibility around you. And the wild part? Most of us have been wearing the same emotional lens for so long we forgot it's even there. We've mistaken the fog for the sky. Imagine this. Two people walk into the same room, same light, same objects, same words spoken, but one sees betrayal while the other sees beauty. Why? Because they aren't seeing the room. They're seeing through their emotion. That emotion collapses potential into form. This isn't just psychology. It's quantum mechanics. The observer effect shows us that what you emotionally observe alters the outcome. Your sadness doesn't just make you feel heavy, it tunes your frequency to a version of reality where everything confirms that sadness. Enjoy. It doesn't just lift your spirit, it collapses a timeline where life rises to meet your radiance. So here's the uncomfortable truth, the life you're looking at is less about what's out there and more about what you're looking through. What if everything you're calling real is just feedback from the lens you're unconsciously using? What if the reason you keep seeing disappointment isn't because life is cruel, but because disappointment is the filter your energy is choosing? This video will shatter that loop, because once you change the lens, everything changes. This is not self-help. This is quantum realignment. If you stay with me until the end, you'll discover how to observe from the frequency of your future self, the one who's already living the life you're dreaming about. And the moment you do, the field begins to respond. Not in years, in moments. So ask yourself now, what have you been seeing through? And are you ready to shift it? Emotion you're feeling right now isn't just a temporary state, but an architect building the world you're stepping into. That subtle anxiety you brushed off this morning, it didn't just sit in your chest. It sent ripples through your field, collapsing a version of today that echoed that same low hum of unrest. You didn't just wake up and check your phone, you tuned into a frequency of urgency, of comparison, of lack, hate, and without knowing it, you selected a version of reality that would confirm all of it. That's the secret no one ever told you. Every emotion is not just personal, it's directional. Points the lens of your perception toward timelines that match its frequency. Think of emotion as both compass and code. When you feel guilt, your brain doesn't just react, it filters. Suddenly, every conversation feels like it's hiding judgment. Every delay feels like punishment. You're not paranoid, you're entangled, because quantum physics tells us what you observe emotionally becomes what is observed externally. It's not just that energy attracts like energy, it's that your state of being acts as the selector mechanism within the quantum field. So when you carry old grief, you unknowingly scan the world for reasons to feel it again. And guess what? The field responds, because the field is precise, not personal. It doesn't reward good behavior or punish bad. It reflects coherence. And if what's coherent in your system is anger or shame or unworthiness, that's the reality it mirrors. This is why some people can walk through life with lightness and synchronicity, while others seem to stumble from conflict to conflict. Even if both are saying the same affirmations, doing the same breath work, reading the same books, because it's not what you're doing, it's what you're being. So here's the question that cracks open the next layer of truth. If your emotional state is always creating, who's actually in control? The conscious you who's trying to be positive, or the subconscious emotional lens that's been trained to expect pain? You've been doing everything right, or so you thought. You journal, you meditate, you repeat affirmations until your throat aches. You visualize a better life, dream of abundance, whisper intentions into the night. And yet your world doesn't move. The bank account stays low. The relationships stay distant. The anxiety still hums beneath your skin. And you begin to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why is nothing shifting? But what if the problem isn't you? What if the real block isn't in what you're doing, but in the lens you're unknowingly using to view everything? That's the pain no one talks about, the silent frustration of self-growth without shift. The ache of waking up every day, trying to believe in a better future while emotionally tuned into the frequency of your past. You want to change. You know you're meant for more. But no matter how much effort you put in, you keep circling the same patterns. And deep down, it hurts because you're trying so hard to be free, but your nervous system still thinks survival is the goal. That's not a flaw, that's programming. That's an emotional lens you didn't choose, but inherited. From trauma, from childhood, from culture, from repetition. And until that lens is seen, named, and shifted, every attempt to manifest, a new reality will be filtered through an old frequency. That's why your life feels like a loop, not because the universe is ignoring you, but because it's listening too well. It's receiving the signal of your emotional baseline and delivering a perfectly matched experience. But here's the breakthrough. You don't need to fix your whole life to shift your whole life. You only need to see what you've been seeing through. Because once you become conscious of the unconscious lens, you take back the power to observe differently. And once you observe differently, the field responds differently. That's not magic. That's mechanics. Here's the truth. No one teaches in school but that quantum physics and ancient mysticism agree on. Your emotions are not just responses, they're signals. And those signals don't disappear into thin air. They imprint. They reverberate through the quantum field. They tell reality what version of the world to send back to you. And the part that's been missing from most personal growth teachings is this. Most of your emotional signals aren't even conscious. They're automatic, deeply embedded patterns installed long before you had the tools to question them. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a room and assumed you didn't belong before anyone even looked at you? How often do you check your phone expecting rejection, or open your bank account anticipating lack? Those aren't just habits. They're emotional algorithms, subtle lenses filtering every moment. And the field isn't judging them. It's responding. With precision, with neutrality, with mirrored feedback. That's why you can speak affirmations all day long. But if you're emotionally rehearsing fear or unworthiness, you collapse timelines that match fear and unworthiness. It's not personal, it's vibrational. But here's the breakthrough. Emotions are not permanent. They are programmable. Your emotional baseline, your vibrational lens, it can be observed, disrupted, and shifted. And the moment you shift your dominant emotional frequency, you shift what the field reflects. You don't need to be high vibe all the time. You just need to become aware of when you're not tanned. Choose again. This is not about suppression. It's about redirection. It's about learning how to train your nervous system to feel safe in elevated emotions so that you stop defaulting to survival states. Because the moment you feel safe in joy, safe in trust, safe in possibility, those become your new baseline. And from that baseline, a new reality unfolds. That's not just healing. It's quantum recode. So how do you read your emotional code, the silent frequency that's been shaping your life without your permission? You start by becoming a scientist of your own state. Noticing the reflexes you've stopped questioning, the thoughts that feel automatic, the tension that creeps in when no one's watching, because every moment your body's broadcasting data. Your breath pattern, your muscle tone, your inner dialogue, they are all revealing your emotional baseline. And the more unconscious it is, the more powerful it becomes. Here's a powerful truth. The emotions you feel the most often aren't just feelings anymore. They're programs. They become part of your default identity. And your identity is the lens through which you observe and therefore select reality. That's why two people can face the same situation. One sees a threat, the other sees a challenge. One freezes, the other expands. It's not willpower, it's emotional coding. The trick is to start decoding it. Ask yourself, when I imagine the future, what feeling comes first? Hope or dread? When I face uncertainty, does my body brace for danger or lean into curiosity? When I'm alone, do I feel peace or a familiar hum of fear? These are not random emotions. These are keys to the timeline you're habitually collapsing. And here's the tool. Pause throughout your day not to analyze, but to observe. Place your hand on your heart and ask, what emotion is running the show right now? You don't need to fix it. Just name it. Because the moment you name it, you shift from being it to witnessing it. And that witnessing, that's the crack. In the lens, That's the space where choice is born. You are not your programming. You are the one who can rewire it. But only if you slow down enough to hear what your nervous system is whispering. Now that you've learned how to observe your emotional code, the next step is alchemy, turning that raw emotion into a deliberate vibrational command. This is where transformation happens, not by force, but by frequency. Because once you realize that every emotion is energy in motion, you stop labeling them as good or bad and start asking the real question: what timeline is this emotion aligning? Me with fear isn't the enemy, it's a compass. Sadness isn't weakness, it's a signal. Every emotion carries a vibration, and that vibration is either collapsing an old loop or opening a new timeline. The power lies not in avoiding low states, but in choosing what you do when they arise. Most people feel an emotion and collapse into it unconsciously. They feel doubt and start shrinking. They feel anger and start blaming. But what if you could feel those same emotions and redirect their energy toward a new outcome? That's quantum mastery. Let's say you feel anxiety, that old familiar tightening in your chest. Pause, breathe, don't resist it. Instead, observe it and ask, what's the timeline this emotion wants to recreate? Usually it's a loop, something you've lived before. But now, instead of reacting, you choose. You breathe through it. You speak to it. Say, I see you. I feel you. But I'm selecting a new signal now. And with intention, you shift. You anchor into gratitude, trust, or peace, not because the situation changed, but because you did. And that shift in state, that vibrational pivot, tells the field, I'm no longer collapsing the past, I'm broadcasting the future. This is not about pretending to be happy. It's about tuning to alignment. The more you practice this, the more your nervous system recalibrates. You begin to feel safe in elevated emotions. You begin to trust your own power. And as your signal stabilizes, your reality transforms, not slowly, but exponentially. This is where theory becomes embodiment, where you stop just learning about emotional frequency and start practicing it like a sacred discipline. Because the truth is, alignment isn't a mood, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with repetition. So here's a simple but powerful daily practice: the frequency reset loop. 3 moments, 3 alignments. First, the morning. Signal. Before your mind remembers who you were yesterday, before you scroll your phone or re-enter the loop, sit still, close your eyes, and ask, what version of me do I choose to observe today? Then breathe into that identity. Feel there. Emotions. Walk into the day as if their timeline is already yours. Second, the midday redirect. Set a reminder on your phone, maybe at 1:11 or 2:22. When it buzzes, pause, no matter where you are. Close your eyes for 30 seconds. Feel into your body and ask, what frequency am I broadcasting right now? If you notice contraction, fear, overwhelm, frustration, don't judge it. Just redirect. Breathe in the emotion you want to embody. Send that new signal into the field like a frequency upgrade. Finally, the evening anchor. Before sleep, replay your day like a movie. Don't look for what went wrong. You aligned. The moments you observed from power, like gratitude, fill those memories. That anchors the emotional signature of your future timeline into your subconscious. This is not busy work. This is frequency work. The more you repeat it, the more your baseline shifts, your lens clears. Your emotional reflexes transform, and without even realizing it, you begin to collapse new versions of reality, not because you forced the world to change, but because you became coherent enough to receive the version of life that was waiting for you. This is the work most people never commit to, but it's the work that changes everything. Here's the quantum twist that most people never hear, but once you grasp it, you'll never look at your future the same way again. You are already entangled with the version of you who has everything you're trying to create. That version, the abundant one, the peaceful one, the powerful one, is not in some distant tomorrow. They already exist as a vibrational pattern within the quantum field. And more importantly, they are already connected to you, just like two Entangled particles that respond instantly across space and time. Your current self and your future self are part of the same wave function. And every time you shift your frequency, every time you embody a higher emotional state, you strengthen the bridge between you and them. This isn't a metaphor, it's physics. Entanglement means your future is not a place you go. It's a frequency you tune into. The clearer your signal, the stronger the entanglement. The stronger the entanglement, the faster the timeline collapses into your reality. This is why coherence matters. Because when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, you send a pure signal through the field, and that signal locks into the version of you that matches it. And then something strange happens. You begin to receive guidance that feels like intuition. Synchronicities multiply. Opportunities arise with uncanny precision, not because you created them, but because you finally tuned into the version of you who is already aligned with them. That version of you has always been there. You just weren't stable enough to feel their presence until now. Because each moment you choose alignment over reaction, trust over doubt, clarity over chaos, you're sinking deeper with that future self. And the field, which was always listening, begins to rearrange itself accordingly, not by magic, by entanglement. And once this becomes embodied, you'll never again chase outcomes. You'll collapse into them. Staying in coherence isn't about being perfect, it's about becoming consistent. Because the greatest threat to your entanglement with your future self is not failure, but forgetting. Forgetting the feeling of alignment. Forgetting the frequency of the version of you who already knows. That's how most people slip one. Stressful email, one familiar trigger, one rough morning, and suddenly the old lens slides back on. The lens of not enough, too late, why bother? And just like that, the emotional signal changes. The field responds. The old timeline reactivates. Not because you did something wrong, but because your signal drifted. Why the key to holding the new frequency is to create anchors, tiny rituals, reminders, recalibrations that pull you back into coherence before the old lens takes over. Here's how: build micro moments of embodiment into your day. Doesn't have to be dramatic. One conscious breath before you speak. One subtle shift in posture. 1 minute of gratitude instead of reactivity. These aren't just habits. They're frequency stabilizers. And here's a powerful tool. When you feel yourself slipping, ask, what would the future version of me observe right now? Not think, not wish. Observe. Because observation is creation. And when you observe like the version of you who's already healed, it's already thriving, already free, you collapse their timeline. The field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to identity. So the more often you return to your chosen state, the faster it becomes your natural state. And when that happens, life doesn't feel like something you chase, it feels like something you remember. It's like waking up in a version of reality that was always there, just waiting for your frequency to match. It's how you stay entangled. Not by pushing, but by choosing. Again and again. This is the moment where becoming stops being an idea and starts being a decision. Because the truth is, you don't shift timelines just by knowing. You shift by being. You've now seen how every emotion is a lens, how your internal frequency is a command, how entanglement with your future self is not a fantasy, but a mechanism. So what now? You practice, you embody, you remember. Every single day, in the smallest moments, you return to that signal, the one that aligns with the version of you who already lives the life you desire. And here's how you do it. Each morning, before the noise creeps in, ask, what would the version of me who's already aligned observe today? Then move from that space. Speak from that frequency. Choose from that clarity. Moments of tourney, doubt. Gently place your hand on your heart and whisper, I return to the me I'm becoming. Let that be your anchor, because coherence isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. And the more you live from that future identity, the more the field has no choice but to respond. You don't need to manifest harder. You just need to stop forgetting who you really are. This is not the end of your journey. It's the moment you reclaim the pen and rewrite the lens. And if this transmission resonated with you, if something clicked, softened, or sparked inside you, then you're not alone. You're part of a frequency, a field, a movement of conscious creators who are no longer chasing their future, but collapsing into it. So if you're ready to keep tuning your lens to dive deeper into these timelines, and to stay aligned with the version of you who already knows, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with someone whose lens you know is ready to shift. It's not just because it helps the algorithm, but because it helps the activation. We're not here to react to reality. We're here to observe differently and create deliberately. Let's do it together. So the lens is yours now. What will you choose to see?